Hi, I'm Evie from 360 Health Coaching and Consulting, and I coach on a healthy spirit, soul, and body. Last month, I had a free Zoom session. It's a monthly free Zoom emotional healing support group session, and it is faith-based. So what I do is I share Bible verses that get us started on talking about a particular emotional issue, mental health issue, and we share our experiences. We learn from one another, and we also learn from the discussion in the Bible verses. So we talked about betrayal last month, and one of the Bible verses and the passages that I used was Psalm 55, and it's verses 12 to 14. I will read it in the Amplified Version. For it is not my enemy who taunts me, then I could bear it. Nor is it one who has hated me, who insolently exalts himself against me, then I could hide from him. But it is you, a man, my equal and my counsel, my companion and my familiar friend. We who had sweet fellowship together, who walked to the house of God in company. This is David in the Psalms, and he's talking about betrayal by his friend. And one of the things about betrayal is that usually you don't feel betrayed if it's just some stranger who walks up to you and said something crazy, because that person doesn't have a relationship with you. The betrayal comes from the relationship. The betrayal comes from the expectations that have built up from a relationship with that person. The betrayal comes from the trust that you have with that person. And when betrayal hits, it's really hard sometimes to just bounce back from the blow of that betrayal. It's not an immediate bounce back. It is, first of all, absorbing the shock and reconfiguring ourselves emotionally, figuring out what happened, realizing that this person is not who you thought they were, and also getting back up. Betrayal affects the way we trust. So if you've really been betrayed, you've been hurt deeply by someone, the odds are that you're not going to trust the same way. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because betrayal can teach us to discern. It can teach us to ask God to show us who each person is, even as we interact with people, not just take things at face value. In this situation, David was talking about someone who was his friend, who he had sweet fellowship with. This is someone he was familiar with. And that's the thing about betrayal. There's usually a familiarity with this person. So the expectation is there that this person will live up to, what the expectations that we've had of them, or the ideologies that we've created of them based on our past relationship. But as we know, people have weaknesses, people are human, and sometimes people change. So one thing the betrayal teaches us is that we shouldn't put people on pedestals. We should look at people as possibly fallible, like knowing that the human nature is weak, and even though we trust the person, we should be able to trust with our eyes open, be able to pay attention to signs, pay attention to what is going on, take things not just at face value, but I guess be able to readjust to what someone is telling us, because sometimes we can have experiences where someone is showing signs that there's a change, and someone is showing signs of disloyalty, but because of the former experience, we might refuse to believe it until the betrayal is like mega and huge and deep, and until it becomes a big issue. But one thing to learn from betrayal is that we need to pay attention to the signals that people give us, even when we have known them or trusted them in the past. And here's an example of someone who had a good heart, but still betrayed because he was weak. In the Bible, in Matthew 26, verses 69 to 70, the Bible talks about how Peter denied Jesus. Now, the interesting thing was that Jesus had told Peter that he would deny him before the rooster crows 3 times. And Peter was like, no, not me. Because Peter trusted so much in his own flesh. And unfortunately, he did deny Jesus. He was heartbroken. He wept after that experience. Jesus goes on to go to the cross, and after resurrection, he connects with Peter once more when he's gotten up from the dead, when he's resurrected. And in John chapter 21, verses 15 to 17, he gives Peter 3 chances to restore himself, to affirm his love for him. So Peter denied. The interesting thing about this was that Peter denied Jesus 3 times. And Jesus gave Peter 3 chances. He asked him 3 times, Peter, do you love me? And Peter said, yes, I do. And then he said, feed my sheep. Feed my lamb, feed my sheep. And Peter was wondering, why? Why is Jesus asking me over and over again if I love him? Of course I love you, Lord. Of course I do. But one of the things that struck me when I read this passage was really, I feel like it was some kind of redemption, because yes, Peter had denied him. Peter had felt really bad and he cried, he wept. But here now, Jesus is saying, I see you. And I want to give you the chance 3 times to either proclaim your loyalty to me or to step back and say, no, this is not for me. And I feel like every time Peter had that chance, it was a solidification of his loyalty. But that's what it says to me personally. It might say something different to you, but just studying that passage, the passage in John 21, 15 to 17, and putting a practical spin on it, that's what I thought of. So when we think about betrayal and grace, in this situation, Jesus could see the heart of Peter. Of course, as human beings, we don't always see people's hearts, but their actions will show us their hearts. And even when there's a possibility of restoration, the heart is super important. Just saying, this person's betrayed me, I'm just going to forgive them and let them back into my life, that's not necessarily a wise thing to do if the person is going to continue to betray you. Peter came back into Jesus' disciples, the group of Jesus' disciples. He was allowed back in. He became a leader of the church. But Judas also betrayed Jesus. And his end was very different because his heart was different. So it's important to look at the heart of the person when we're dealing with betrayal and the aftermath of it. It's not just, a blanket response to say, oh, I'll forget about it. I'll give this person another chance. Yes, you can forgive, but sometimes the relationship is broken and cannot be restored, or cannot be restored to the former state. If you relate with that person, you have to know that the person is not trustworthy, and you can't make somebody treat you right. You can't make somebody be loyal. So you have to pay attention to what that person is serving and not what you want them to serve. Hope this helps someone and hope this blesses someone, and you have a great day.